New York City, it's considered, and it's actually the biggest school district in all of New York State.
We have about 2 million students in the state of New York, and about 1.1 million of those children are in the city of New York.
The way that public schools are funded certainly is kind of different across the country, but in New York State and in New York City in particular, there's a model called the Fair Student Funding Formula.
So Assembly, Senate, Governor's Office decides in March what does that budget look like for school funding, and then it goes to the school districts. New York City gets the pot of money, and then they go and they pass it on to the schools. Then the principals have that budget, and then they look at how they're going to appropriate those funding with their parents via the school leadership team.
We've been fighting for $3.8 billion that are owed to our New York State public school students. And this is as a result of a very old lawsuit called the Campaign for Fiscal Equity. It was launched by parents. A parent in Washington Heights, Robert Jackson, filed a lawsuit against the state. He's like, something fishy is happening here. Not all of the schools have the resources that they need to educate our children properly. The highest courts agreed with him and the other parents that New York State was in fact violating students' constitutional rights for a sound basic education. And as a result of that lawsuit, we're owed $3.8 billion.
When you walk into a school that has dilapidated walls, or that their bathrooms are not working, or that look like prisons, I think it's quite clear to see what levels and types of investments are being made in those schools. And if you live in a wealthier neighborhood with more homes, the kind of proportion of funding that gets generated for schools is going to be reflective of those higher property values.
A very important part of the Campaign for Fiscal Equity was that there was an equity component. And so students and school districts that needed the most money would get the most money. And we're talking about children that are living in poverty. We're talking about children that have special needs, that we don't have sports, that we don't have arts, that we don't have music. And the reality is that we are not able to holistically teach our students because there isn't enough funding.
So education funding can make or break. Right now, education funding actually determines the kind of education for an education system where the majority of the participants in that education system are students of color. These are Black and brown children that mostly come from zip codes that are not considered wealthy zip codes. What that means is that if a child is sitting in a classroom where they're not getting the proper education, that family does not have the ability to go in their pocket to supplement that child's education. And so we end up graduating generations of students who are unprepared for higher education or for the workforce.
It's 14 years of students that we've literally left behind, and 14 years of not funding, despite us knowing that New York State is in violation of their constitutional rights, not funding their futures. This is criminal.
That means that there were first graders, second graders, all the way to 12th grade that sat in classrooms in an education less than what they deserved, less than what the law said they deserved. They don't get first grade back. They don't get second, third. They don't get that back.
Every single person has the ability to engage around this issue, and it's as simple as picking up your phone and making a call to your state legislator. It's as simple as writing an email and sending it to your state legislature and your governor. It's organizing a parent meeting to talk about this. And absolutely, if you are in need of support in this organizing process, give us a call.
We can't afford to wait any longer. We have to fund the Foundation Aid Campaign for Fiscal Equity now.